going up, everybody? It's Chini the Great, back for another Write With Me Wednesday. So today in this video, I'm probably going to film over a couple different days, but what I'm working on right now is researching for the submission topic that I've chosen for this week. And right now I'm just going to research it, take some notes, and I'll write it a little bit later, and of course I'll share that with you guys a little bit later on in the video. But right now, I just wanted to real quick just show you guys my bullet journal, just to show you guys how I've been staying organized the last couple of weeks. Alright, so this is my weekly setup for my bullet journal, my weekly layout. I have the dates right here of what week it is, and then I've broken it up into the days. So next to the days, I have what time I go to work every day, which is pretty helpful for me because before I would just wake up and look at my schedule real quick that day and I wouldn't really know what I work in the future, so it was hard to plan around that because I just wasn't keeping track. And then within each day, I've left myself some bullet points of things I need to do each day. So the first one here is edit the Write With Me Wednesday, which will be going up tomorrow, and I marked it out because I just finished that. I have to read one chapter of a book that kind of helps me learn about the lifestyle that I want to incorporate in my new novel. So that's actually considered research for me. And then research the submission topic and film Write With Me Wednesday, which I'm doing right now. And this is everything I have to finish this week. So I've marked a couple things off, posted the update video, and learned 5 facts about the Vietnam War, which are right here. I think every week I'm going to lay it out right like this, where I can write down the submission topic for that week as well as the 5 facts for that week. So I have those written out right here. And what I'm about to be working on is research for the submission topic here. So the topic is how cannabis affects the brain. And I just want to kind of research a little bit the results of long and short-term use and compare the effects to those of other drugs. So that's what we're going to be working on right now. Alright, so I've got my notebook here and I'm just going to go ahead and take some notes while I research. And I'll talk to you guys while I do that and share some information maybe that I find interesting with you guys. So when I am doing more in-depth research on a topic, a more educational or informational piece, I like to obviously look up a lot of different sources for my information and kind of develop my own knowledge on the topic so that I'm not just copying something from another website or another source. Obviously, I don't want to do that. That's plagiarism. So I like to look at a lot of different things, and then instead of referencing that while I'm actually writing the article, I like to maybe refer to my notes or just the knowledge that I've gained through my research, so that way it is my own article, it's my own information, and I'm not copying someone else's work. Another thing I like to keep in mind is when I am taking notes to shorthand things and not copy verbatim from a website or from a book or an article, because then I'm likely to put that in my own article, and again, that's plagiarism. So if I shorthand it, then when I do type up my article, I have to put things in my own words. Like, I'm forced to put things in my own words. Don't you guys hate when you try to read an article on weed, or you're just like, or you're listening to a podcast on weed or something, if you guys ever just listen to stuff about weed, and like, there's blatantly a negative overcast in the article? That's so annoying, because there's really no negative effects of marijuana. Like, for the time that you're high, you're probably functioning a little bit slower than usual. Like, your brain is not making connections on a normal level, but that's about it. If you smoke a lot with tobacco wraps or something, you're gonna have the negative effects of tobacco in your lungs, but you could just vape or not use tobacco and you wouldn't even have that problem. So there's really not negative effects of weed, not really, not significant negative effects with weed. And so I hate when I'm reading an article or I come across a website about weed and they're just like, oh, this thing makes people stupid, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, look at all the people who have succeeded in life while smoking marijuana regularly. Like, there's really successful, motivational, and like inspirational people who have done amazing things while smoking. And I guess that's kind of why I wouldn't consider myself an activist, but I definitely like anytime someone brings up this subject, I definitely kind of like to just state facts about marijuana use to people who think it's like the worst thing in the world, because alcohol is much worse and it's legal. Prescription drugs are much worse and they're legal. Yet people think weed is like the worst thing in the world. But I mean, people are coming around, times are changing, and slowly but surely the negative stigma about marijuana is getting dissolved, but I mean, there's still plenty of people in the world that think it's like, that just have so many misconceptions about cannabis. So I guess that's why I like to write these articles. Even though the main people that probably are going to read this are already cannabis users, still, maybe they'll learn something to share with someone else when they come across someone who is just not educated. But what are your guys' views? Because I know this is not a cannabis channel, so there might be a ton of viewers who don't smoke or that think weed is bad. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, if you don't really condone cannabis use or you think it's bad, tell me why. There's definitely like a moral dilemma that comes with it. People think that because you're inebriated or stoned, that has a negative connotation in and of itself. So people who get drunk or people who get high on anything are like bad or making bad decisions. And I don't think that's necessarily true, because yeah, cannabis will make you high in a way that something that's not a drug won't. But every day people do stuff to put themselves in a happier mindset or uplift themselves or give them pleasure. Like, people eat chocolate to feel that pleasure, like food that triggers dopamine. People eat that specifically to feel that feeling. And or they listen to music that they enjoy, or they do activities that they enjoy to feel that pleasure. So I don't think being high, especially when it's a cannabis high, should be looked at any different, because you're just doing something, either, even if it's like, this is just recreationally. Like, of course there's tons of medical uses, but like just recreationally, it shouldn't be looked down upon. And even in the cannabis community, people that use medically look down on those who use recreationally, because they're looked at as just like stoners who want to get high. And it's like, being high on cannabis doesn't even really, especially after you get used to it and you do it more often, it doesn't really affect you in a way that people think being high affects people. It's just like, all you are is more relaxed, focused, and uplifted. Like, you're not crazy and you can't control your decisions like if you were on some other drug or under the influence of alcohol. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, I guess this is why I'm writing these articles, is just to share information with people, but I just was reading an article and it was, everything in here is like super negative, and I'm like, okay, like that's not even really true, and you're making it seem way worse than it is, I guess. But that's why I try to write things objectively, but I am biased because I do use cannabis and I think it's a wonderful thing. So I don't know, tell me what your thoughts are. So one thing this article states is, I'm just going to read it. A number of studies have shown an association between chronic marijuana use and increased rates of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and schizophrenia. What the fuck? Like, there's an association because cannabis can be used to treat all of those symptoms. So people who are depressed are using marijuana to, you know, not be depressed. People with anxiety are using marijuana to ease their anxiety. People who are suicidal can use marijuana to feel uplifted and have less suicidal thoughts. Schizophrenics can use it to focus better. And it's just like, obviously there's a direct association between these problems and marijuana use, because marijuana is the medicine used to treat that. That's like saying there's a direct association between people who undergo chemotherapy and people that have cancer. This is just why it's frustrating, because, you know, some suburban mom is gonna read this shit and be like, oh, cannabis is the worst. If I ever find my kid smoking it, I'm gonna kick them out of the house. And it's just like, okay, this was posted in, I just saw the time, this was posted in 2008, so 10 years ago. But, I mean, I'm not gonna say, like, there's nothing wrong with using cannabis, especially people who don't use it responsibly. People could definitely overuse it and abuse it and neglect all their responsibilities to use cannabis. But we also have to keep in mind that cannabis isn't making them do that. They're already neglecting their responsibilities, and they're using cannabis as an excuse or an outlet for that irresponsibility. You know, smoking weed doesn't make somebody lazy. A lazy person may smoke a lot of weed, but they're already lazy. They're not being lazy because of cannabis. They're just using cannabis while being lazy. And, I don't know. And it is, I'm not going to say that, like, another part of this article said that it was addictive and that you go through withdrawal, which is completely incorrect. Like, it's not physically addictive. We've had tons of studies show that. It is habit forming, so if you enjoy it, you might want to use it more and more, but you're still able to function normally and be a contributing member of society while using cannabis very regularly. And if you do decide to stop, you can. There is no withdrawal. You might crave the drug and want to use it, and you might, if you use it for sleeping, if you don't get a lot of sleep, so you use cannabis to sleep, obviously if you take that away, you're not going to be able to sleep well. If you use cannabis to ease your anxiety and you stop using cannabis, obviously your anxiety is going to increase. So things like that, people are looked at as withdrawal symptoms. That's like saying people with ADD, if you take away their medication, they're not going to be able to focus as well. You know what I mean? People who have a lot of nausea, if you take away their medication, they might feel more nauseous. It's just like, everything is skewed in such a negative way, and I just wish people would be more objective to this. And I guess the stigma's not going to go away until more people speak up and put it in terms like I just did. But like I said, this nation is coming around to the idea that cannabis is very helpful and it's not dangerous whatsoever. But I'm just going to keep researching this and try not to get too upset. I only have about half an hour left of research before I have to go get ready for work. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that without the camera on. But yeah, I will see you guys in a minute for the rest of this video. Alright, what's up guys? So I made myself some tea and now it's time to get writing. You saw me research a little bit for the article I'm about to write, but I still haven't gotten any writing done on it. It took a lot of research, and originally the idea was I got my notes here, and this is my bullet journal too. Anyways, I had some notes. I wanted to write an article about how cannabis affects the brain, and more like what it actually does to your brain and why it makes you feel the way you feel when you're under the influence of cannabis. Honestly, I only found one helpful article about that in like one video, so I didn't find that much information about that. What I did find a lot of information on was a lot of articles trying to say like what negative effects cannabis has on a user and what long-term use can do, which I did want to write a little bit about that. But I also noticed a lot of associations people have with cannabis and the negative effects of cannabis use. And a lot of it, I kind of mentioned when I was researching it to you guys, a lot of it was like, associations people make with cannabis users that's not because they smoke, but they already have those effects, so they use cannabis to treat it. But people are saying, oh, there's association with cannabis and depression or cannabis and anxiety. And it's not that cannabis causes depression or anxiety in people. it's that people with anxiety disorders and depression use cannabis. So although there's an association, it's misunderstood. So I wanted to address a lot of misconceived notions. Is that the correct term? Misconceptions? Yeah, I wanted to address some misconceptions about cannabis use in my article. So it's not so much how it affects the brain anymore, but just the kind of relationship between these negative effects and cannabis, the true relationship, not cannabis makes people depressed, because that's not the case. So I wanted to address that in the article, but I don't want it to be preachy, because I hate reading articles that are just preachy one way or another, even if I agree with the point of view. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on actually writing this, and then I think at the end I'm gonna compare a little bit about the actual negative effects of cannabis and negative effects of other drugs. So oh man, I've been putting this off all day. It's already almost 2 o'clock and I really don't want to write this. That's the thing about, like, picking articles that take a lot of research. Like, I work so hard researching for them that by the time I get to writing, I'm just done. I don't want to do it anymore. But that's also the thing with wanting to work for yourself and be freelance, is that you gotta make yourself work. And I chose an article I think people will benefit from reading, and now it's time to write it. But I'm just trying to tell myself, if I get this done now, then tonight I get to watch movies or do whatever I want. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I've said this before, but with any kind of writing I do, whenever I find it hard to start, or I've reached a point and I'm not exactly sure how to continue, I just write. I'll write anything, and a lot of the times that ends up being not what I want, and I don't think it sounds good, but it gives me an idea of what direction not to take my writing. And there has been a few times, especially with the articles, not so much fiction writing, where as long as I just start writing and get it out, then I actually really do like how the article comes along, and I only have to go back and change a thing or two here or there. But with fiction writing, a lot of the time it's the opposite. It's like, okay, I hate that, but now I know what not to do, and then from there I have a better idea of where to go. So it's always best to just write anything if you ever have writer's block. But I've began this article. I'm going to play some music, just because I'm going to be sitting here writing by myself for a couple hours. But I did discuss in a update video that I want to incorporate more music about the Vietnam War into my life, because that's just another angle of research I'm doing, and it's a way to immerse myself within the research I'm doing. So this is a great opportunity while I'm writing something to just get, because I would play music anyway, so it might as well be music that is conducive to me learning and absorbing all the knowledge and opinions I can about something I'm going to be writing about soon. So I'm a good bit into the article, and I don't know, I've kind of, like, it's come really naturally. Like, I was writing this off for a while, but it's coming easy, a lot easier than I thought it would. And I don't know, I guess the topic of the article has just been something that I've been living with for years. We've all heard misconceived notions about cannabis use, or even if we believe those statements or didn't believe them or whatever, we've all heard them. So it's just kind of breaking that down into saying, okay, well, this is why those associations are made with cannabis use, but let's not confuse the fact that people with these symptoms may use cannabis to help that, and let's not, let's make a distinction between that and cannabis causing these effects. So it's really come easy writing this article, but I'm gonna keep it going, keep writing, and I'm about halfway through, so I'll catch up with you guys after I'm finished. Alright, so I did finish writing that article, and I feel really good about it. Like I said, I think it came a little bit easier than I anticipated to me, and that sentence was out of order. It came a little bit easier to me than I anticipated, but I did finish writing it, and I feel pretty good about it. I feel like I addressed the misconceptions in a way that makes sense to people who may not support cannabis use, so that it's not completely subjective, that it's a little bit subjective, but it's also a little objective. So I try to come at it from a stance where even people who disagree with me on my views of cannabis can kind of understand, okay, I see how this misconception is misconceived. So, I'm gonna send that to Aaron after he responds to my last submission. And I really hope this one gets published because I feel like it would work great with his website. And I just woke my cat up and she looks cranky. She looks mad at me. I feel like it will work really great with his website. And I feel like it's something people can appreciate whether or not they use cannabis. So, I'm almost finished with this video. I did want to share one more thing with you guys. So I've been kind of vague about my upcoming novel. I told you guys it's about Vietnam War. I'm studying a lot of war stuff, but I've also mentioned a few times that I'm putting something else into the novel more. I keep referring to it as lifestyle, but it's more specific. I don't want to give away my novel idea because that's no fun, but I figured I would share a little bit more about it with you guys. So I'm going to incorporate drug use in this novel, and not just like cannabis, although that would probably be in there, but acid and psychedelics. And I've never done any psychedelics, so I have to research a lot considering I don't know what psychedelics are like. And I've really enjoyed it. That's something that I used to be really, really against. Actually, not that long ago at all, maybe just a couple years ago. I was really against psychedelics. I thought they were awful. I thought whoever used it was like psychotic, and I kind of viewed it almost as a hard drug. Although that's ridiculous. But I've kind of gotten interested in psychedelics and their effects on people. And I just find it incredibly interesting. And I've completely changed my views. I think psychedelics could be really a wonderful tool for people to use. And I think, of course, like anything in the world, they can be misused. But I no longer feel like I used to. Like, I don't have such negative views. My arm's getting really tired. I no longer have such negative views about it, and I think that they could be really helpful for people. In addition to that, I'm just also interested in their effects because it's so bizarre to me. So I've been studying a lot, watching a lot of videos about psychedelics and that whole culture, like psychedelics in the hippie culture as well. And in addition to that, I've been kind of reading a little bit. So I have this book here called Acid Test. I don't know if this is backwards or not because I'm using my front camera. I think it's good though. Acid Test. It is written by Tom Schroeder, and it's about using psychedelics. It's about using psychedelics to heal after psychological trauma and stuff like that, which would be incredibly helpful for someone who has fought in the Vietnam War, hence why I'm incorporating that kind of stuff into my novel. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that with you guys, so I don't want to completely give away my whole novel idea, but I just wanted to share another part of this with you guys. And when I'm researching lifestyle, I'm really learning about psychedelics, and of course, lifestyles outside of psychedelics in the Vietnam War, people's views about the war on both sides, and I'm really just trying to get so immersed into this research, and I really want to feel like I lived through the Vietnam War, whether that be on one side, inside the war, fighting for the war, or on the outside, as a civilian in the United States who didn't agree with the war. So I just kind of want to really develop my opinions, in a well-rounded way on both sides and learn as much as I can about every angle of the war and of the lifestyle and the people who lived through these experiences. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video here, but I hope you enjoyed. Got a lot of writing done, feel really good about that article. And I'm just going to have another day off tomorrow. I'm going to take it a little bit easy and just kind of do more research instead of writing tomorrow. So I hope you guys, whatever you're working on, I hope you just keep working on it, because people are always going to tell you that it's stupid or that you shouldn't do it or that you should be doing something else. And people tell me that every single day in my life, that I should not be a writer, that I should do something else. I should do this job or this job, and it's stuff that I would never want to do, and I would be fucking miserable doing it. But they don't care. They think because it's more money or it's more reliable that I should be doing it instead of following my passion. So if you're in that same position and someone's just really doing that to you, just keep your head up and just follow your passion, because at the end of the day, it's your life, not theirs. And you really, if you don't have the passion, then what do you have in life? So I'm going to keep working on my stuff, and I hope you keep working on your stuff, and let me know what you're working on. So stay motivated, stay inspired, and stay happy. See you guys.